Welcome to Resilient Earth Radio, where we host speakers from the United States and around the world to talk about critical issues facing our planet and the positive actions people are taking. We also let our listeners learn how they can get involved and make a difference. This is Leanne Lindsay, host, along with Scott and Tree Mercer of Mendonoma Whale and Seal Study in both Mendocino and Sonoma counties of Northern California. Today's segment is Resilient Earth Radio, and I have with me my joint co-producers and co-hosts, Scott and Tree Mercer of Mendonoma Whale and Seal Study. They have lined up for all of us a wonderful young guest who is making some amazing changes to our oceans and for our planet. His name is Aeon Bashir, and we are going to talk to him in just a moment about Aeon for Ocean. It was founded by young Aeon at 7 years old. He's from Minnesota, and he did this to empower his peers to protect the ocean and this beautiful planet. Aeon has been passionate about marine life since he was 2 years old, and he is an avid advocate for the ocean and its creatures. His drive for conservation have inspired his parents and classmates alike. Good morning, Aeon.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
I'm so happy to have you here to talk with us today about what positive things people are doing around the planet to help with climate action and climate balance. And it seems like you have this incredible program going, and we'd love to hear about really how you got started.
So thank you for having me, and I really appreciate this whole podcast and how you're taking people who are making a difference worldwide to help sort of promote awareness. So I first got interested in the ocean when I was little, around like 2 or 3 years old, when I went whale watching. And I saw a lot of marine life, from whales to dolphins, sea otters, sea lions, etc. And I also noticed that there was a lot of pollution that causes a threat to these marine animals and their survival. And I realized that this pollution was created by humans. When I came back to Minnesota, I talked to my friends and teachers and family about all the different types of whales and dolphins, and I found out that they didn't really know much about this, like the different types of whales and dolphins and how we impact the ocean. Because of that, I decided to start doing small presentations within my school about whales and dolphins and how we impact the ocean and how we can help the ocean as well. So I started in my school, and then a few years later I thought that it would be even better if we could go and present to other schools and other venues. So after talking to some experts, I realized that I would need to start a nonprofit in order to do that. So with the help of those experts and my parents, we started Aeon for Ocean as a method of promoting and sharing awareness about oceans and marine life and the impacts we have on it.
That's wonderful, and you do have a great group of people behind you. Can you tell us a little bit about some of those people?
Yes. I guess from the beginning, we have a bunch of experts that have helped us throughout the years. To name a few, Ted Cheeseman, Laurie Marino, and then our amazing volunteers. I won't go into the names, but we have an amazing group of volunteers who have helped throughout the years in areas from education to creating content and outreach, and it's just been a really amazing experience to learn and grow with all of them.
I'd like to tell our listening audience too, if you would like to find his information online, his name is spelled Aeon. So look for Aeon for Ocean spelled that way, and you will find an amazing website on a number of the things that they are doing as a group and helping to educate the next generation And that is what is so important for continuing great work about understanding the issues at hand, coming up with solutions, and then executing plans and making it happen. And you're helping to do that through this organization, through all the people who have been drawn to help you. You would probably welcome others to help you from far and wide, I would imagine.
Yeah, for sure. We're always looking for more people to help share awareness about the ocean and marine life.
You're in Minnesota still?
Yeah, still in Minnesota.
Okay, so describe what kind of programs you've got there for the school systems, and how could other school systems replicate this across the country and the world, actually,
Yeah.
Right now we have an online Canvas curriculum for middle school, and we're working on creating some for like high school. So this is like online materials, and like there's modules and batches and all of that, like materials and hands-on projects that teachers can use for their students and classes. And then we're also working on comics, which creates a more fun way to learn about issues affecting the ocean and how we can help them. We're also partnering with Guided Opportunities, which is a nonprofit in Honduras, and we're providing educational material and content for them to use in their after-school programs. Part of this is translating our materials into Spanish, which could be used to reach a larger US community and international community. And then right now the main focus is sort of getting back to those in-person events, in-school presentations where we sort of detail, especially when we present in Minnesota, like how even though the ocean is so far away and it seems like such a distant concept, like how our actions inland affect the ocean. And part of this is we partnered with the Hydras and Dr. Erica Woosley, and she graciously provided us with some virtual reality headsets because we realized when we started presenting that a lot of kids inland, not only in Minnesota, in many inland states, have never even seen the ocean or been to the ocean. And we thought that for people to really care about the ocean and to be able to have that sort of connection with it, they need to first understand what it is. So we used the virtual reality to sort of bring this immersive experience into the classroom to provide students with the glimpse into the ocean and about coral bleaching and how we can help the ocean.
That's wonderful. And my own son helps to other companies with virtual reality and augmented reality. He's in the video game design business. Imagine different augmented reality type programs you could make, and some video games too. I can just see a variety of different multimedia type projects and approaches.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. What question did you have,
Yeah,
Teresa?
I was wondering, Ian, when you went whale watching in California here?
Yeah.
Where was that, in Monterey?
I believe that was in Newport Coast.
Oh, okay, Newport. Excellent. And how old were you when you went on that whale watching trip?
I'd say about 2 or 3 years old.
Wow, amazing.
What an impact
Yeah.
that had on a young man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was just wondering then, when you went home to Minnesota, did you find it difficult, or was there resistance to what you were proposing to people, that we need to care about the ocean even though we live in Minnesota or anywhere else in the country that's not near an ocean? Was that challenging for you, or did it come pretty easily?
I don't think there was so much of a resistance as like a lack of awareness. Like people really didn't know about the impacts we have. Because when you're inland and you spend your life inland, the ocean seems sort of like a faraway concept,
Yeah.
and it's hard to see how what you do inland can impact the ocean, which is thousands of miles away. But I feel like there wasn't really resistance as much as like the whole idea for starting Aeon for Ocean, like the idea that people didn't know about how we impacted them. So it's more of like just educating about how we impact and how we can help the ocean as well.
Absolutely, and that's why what you're doing is just so important, and it's so inspiring, actually. And do you know that Ted Cheeseman was our guest last week?
Oh, that's awesome.
And Scott has known Ted since he was 10?
Yeah, a little younger than you are now. And yeah, I was thinking that when you were speaking, how great it was to hear Ted's name come from you. And I'm not surprised he's helping you. He's a really brilliant guy. And Lori Marino, we met at a conference about granting personhood to animals. And she was one of the speakers at that. And now she's running, I'm sure you know, that whale sanctuary idea.
Yeah, that's a really fascinating thing in Nova Scotia.
Yeah, isn't
Out of
it?
Eastern Canada right now. So.
And both of you have been teachers,
Yeah.
especially you, Teresa.
Yeah. And when I taught 7th grade science, and we decided that we would adopt a whale through the New England Aquarium program. I was on the East Coast. This was a small school in New York, and we had bake sales after school, and we raised money, and we adopted, I think, 2 whales, and they sent us a certificate, and it was really a fun thing to do with my students. And then later when I met Scott, he knew the whales we adopted, because he knew just about every humpback whale in the Gulf of Maine.
Because you were doing a lot of whale tours.
Yeah, I ran whale watches for a couple of decades. In fact, it was called New England Whale Watch. I grabbed that name early on. So I was glad to hear that a whale watching trip. You mentioned sea otters. That's actually what got me into marine mammal interest back when I was in college. So
That's good.
yeah, sea otters were very vital to the ecosystem down where you were seeing your first whales.
And why is that?
Well, because they have a big appetite and to keep themselves warm, as I'm sure Aeon knows, but they eat a variety of things across the board. They don't just specialize in one. And in so doing, they also keep the urchin population down, which allows the kelp forest to grow.
And now the two of you have been doing Mendonoma whale and seal study. Just summarize quickly for our audience what exactly you're doing that you're bringing to the table here too.
Me again?
You're on, Scott.
Okay, well, Tree, you know her as Teresa, but her nickname is Tree. She's better known as Tree. She and I, in 2013 or so, when she decided to retire from teaching in public schools, we decided to come out here to Northern California, an area that I was more familiar with than Teresa was. And when we got here, we were thinking about coming out here, we decided to start a program. There didn't seem to be too much steady research going out of this coast where we are right now. And so we came up with that name, Mendonoma, which is a combination of Mendocino and Sonoma counties.
On the North
And
California coast.
yeah, we're about 100 and I don't know if you looked us up, yeah, but we're about 120 miles north of San Francisco, more or less. And let's see.
And the Point Arena Linehouse is where you guys do most of your observations.
Yeah, Point Arena, if you find us on a map, Point Arena sticks out a little bit, and there's a lighthouse that sticks out. That area projects out about 2 miles into the ocean, which gives, and the lighthouse is on a peninsula. It's not a lighthouse you have to take a boat to yet. It gives us a vantage point in being that far out, especially with the gray whale migration that we monitor each year from November maybe to June, when the mothers and calves go by here.
And there's been quite a bit of whale traffic, I understand, in the last week or so, right, Teresa?
Yes, yeah. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, finally, I was thinking of you, Ian, when you would have loved to see what we were seeing the last few days. The humpbacks are here now, probably feeding on anchovies, and they are close enough to shore. But binoculars, of course, help, but we've had breaching humpbacks, we've had them flipper slapping, tail lobbing, just doing all the incredible acrobatic things that humpbacks do. And at the lighthouse the other day, there were lots of visitors there, all lined up, and they were looking at the ocean, taking pictures, and it was just an amazing sight. And I said, "Oh, Ian would love to see this. He would love to be here. You have an open invitation to come to this part of California and see what we're seeing out here in the ocean. I know you would love it."
Wow, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And Ian, why are whales so important to our planet?
I feel like they're important in so many ways, but I guess one of the first ways that comes to mind is like they're vital to our ecosystem. They essentially fertilize the ocean seafloor, and that allows for, I believe if I'm remembering this correctly, allows for more phytoplankton.
That's
And-
right.
And then, so the phytoplankton are really important. Like because-
Really important.
yeah, because one of the things that we talk about in our presentations a lot is like how if you take 2 breaths, every second breath we take comes from the ocean, from like
Yes.
this photosynthesis in the phytoplankton. And I think that's just really fascinating that whales, these gentle giants, contribute so much to our ecosystem and to our lives, even though we're so far from the ocean.
Absolutely. Whales not only provide that for the phytoplankton provides us with the oxygen, but also they sequester so much carbon over their lifetimes if they're allowed to live. And then they take that down to the ocean floor.
That's right.
Right?
That's right. They are nature's way of balancing this climate. That's the way to do it, is to let the whales live. Yeah.
Coming up on Resilient Earth Radio, Howie Garrett of the Orca Whale Sighting Network, which encourages observation to increase awareness and knowledge about the community of orcas and other marine mammals in the Puget Sound. They foster a stewardship ethic to motivate a diverse audience to take action to protect and restore their critical habitat. They believe it's time to reflect, reconnect, and respond as better caretakers of this planet. Tune in to Resilient Earth Radio, where we are elevating awareness about these critical topics and positive efforts through our radio show and podcast. Thanks for listening. Subscribe below and find us on Facebook and Instagram. We are Resilient Earth Radio, a project of Planet-Centric Media.
And if you're just tuning in, you're listening to a group of us talk about environmental issues and what this young man, Aeon Bashir, who has formed a foundation called Aeon for Ocean. You can find it online. You can see the incredible lineup of talent and people who are backing him. Aeon is talking to us from Minnesota. Aeon, you must have some incredible parents. I must say. Tell us a little bit about them.
Yeah, so they've been supporting me ever since I really got passionate about the ocean, always sort of pushing me to take that next step and go further to really pursue my passion in the ocean. And they sort of really backed my thought about starting a nonprofit. Even though it is a lot of work to start a nonprofit, they really put in the time and effort to help me get to where I am today with Aeon for Ocean and everything else, and I'm just really grateful.
And that's another thing. This is a non-profit, so people can even just make a donation to your organization. As simple as that. And then how could some children, other kids around the country get involved? Like right here on our Pacific coast, Wallala is a town that sits right at the junction of both Mendocino counties and Sonoma counties. We're very remote, but we have a lot of children and young folks up here too.
Yeah, one thing we always say is that whenever you get the chance, try to spread awareness about the ocean, whether it be through doing presentations in your school or talking about how we can help the ocean to your friends, your family, your teacher. Anything makes a difference. Every little action makes a difference.
Do you have some tools on your website that might assist them in this effort?
one thing that they can do is they can reach out to info@eonforocean.org. We have a lot of materials, educational materials, that we would be willing to share to aid in this sharing awareness about oceans and marine life. Yeah.
That's huge, because getting over that hurdle of, well, how do we approach this? How do we bring together the materials to do a presentation? Well, you can assist them with that. Your
Yeah.
organization can. It's not just young Ian, but he has been like the torchbearer here, leading all these people forth, and they've joined him and they're surrounding him and they're helping them. And you're still in school.
Yeah.
How do you balance all of that?
Usually I try to make the presentations and whatever. I try to do it myself in person, but we also have a lot of volunteers all across the US and sometimes international. And they've been really helpful and really awesome in like taking that and doing these virtual reality programs and going to schools and presenting. And it's really been awesome, and I'm really grateful to them.
How do you balance all that?
Well, I go to a online high school, Stanford Online High School right now, so that's really helpful in giving me some more time to work on these. Like right now, I'm sort of helping with writing scripts for comics, and it really helps with like balancing Jan for Ocean and the academics and all of that. But yeah.
And boy, what a creative outlet.
Mm-hmm. What grade are you going into?
I'll be going to ninth grade.
Oh, wow. Okay. Ninth grade. That's amazing. And do you have any way of analyzing, or do you gather statistics as to how impactful you have been and the people who are volunteering for you? Like, do you know how many different schools have tapped into your resources?
Great question.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but you say it's multi-state, right? It's not just Minnesota. You're across the United States.
Yeah, for classrooms wise, we've presented to over 30 classrooms within the Midwest, and counting like our impacts on like social media and other platforms, we've reached over 5,000 people across the world, and I think that's really great, and we're always pushing to reach more people and
Sure.
share more awareness, and yeah.
Right, there's no borders.
That's it. Is that globally as well?
Yeah.
Are you in other countries?
We're not in other countries
Okay.
as of now, but for social media, there's people in other countries who do view our social media platforms. So
That's
Hard
amazing.
thing to
That
watch.
is really, really spectacular. Wow.
I could imagine they could
Yeah.
still reach out from wherever they are in the world to
Yeah.
get assistance and get some information and materials that they could then put into their own languages and their own social impact campaigns.
yeah. And as I mentioned, we are partnering with Guided Opportunities in Honduras. And we're translating the material into Spanish. So
Love
we're
that.
hopefully we'll be able to share that with a much wider audience as well. Yeah.
Honduras.
Yeah.
So explain how that got started.
Yeah, so I believe that we met one person. One of the volunteers who works with us knows a teacher who founded the nonprofit called Guided Opportunities in Honduras, and they essentially run after school programs for underprivileged communities there to teach them about various things, not just related to oceans. So we decided to partner with them and provide our materials to sort of provide a baseline for them to teach the underprivileged communities in Honduras through these after-school programs about the ocean and how they can help protect our ocean.
Guided opportunities.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
Huh.
Yeah.
And Scott, what would you like to ask young Anne?
I've been curious for several years since we first met you or saw you. It was at the conference, the American Cetacean Society's conference in Newport Beach, and the theme that conference was the next generation. You were very young then. You might have been 9 then. You might have been into this a couple of years, but you were new and very young. And I remember wondering where you were, and you started speaking. It's
You're
that
very
guy.
articulate.
Yeah, this great, very articulate voice came over the PA system, and I thought, where is he? How did you get invited to that? How did they know about you,
Yeah.
the planning committee? I wondered about that for years.
I believe when we first got interested in like the ocean, we met a few experts, especially in California, in like the Newport, Monterey side, and through those connections, they referred us to the ACS conference. That sort of just springboarded everything from there.
Well, you sure are an inspiration for other young people out there who are young adults. You're moving into that high school phase, and then it's college, and then it's adult life. And so you've really made a great start, and you're leveraging to the online education system, and especially you can tap into Stanford. What are some of the courses that you do take online from Stanford?
Well, overall, I'm taking most of my academic courses like
Right.
math, science, writing, philosophy, and things like that. So mainly that through Stanford, because through Stanford we get access to a bunch of libraries and online networks, which are really helpful to leverage for like finding resources and things like that.
Nice. Well, Scott, you're doing
Excellent.
some online Stanford courses too.
Yeah, it sounds like you're into a little different program if you have access to libraries, library resources, because it's not available to all of us, depending on which program that we're into. But I did just take an interesting philosophy class, the philosophy of biology.
Really?
Did you see that one?
Oh, I see. I have a philosophy course that's really similar to that next year. It's called the, I believe, Methodology of Science and Biology. So I think that's really close. So I'm looking forward to that.
Oh, excellent. Yeah.
Yeah, excellent,
You
yeah.
two could share notes. You two could share notes.
I know.
Yeah.
Very cool. We could do a show just on that, right?
Oh my gosh, yeah. I listened in on Scott's class. Fascinating. Fascinating.
Back to you, Aeon. What are some of the things that you would like to convey to some of the listeners out there? We're not only just on the Northern California Redwood Coast here in Walala and along Sonoma Coast and Mendocino Coast, but we do stream. We're streaming around the world, and we do get listeners from all different kind of countries. So why don't you give a couple of thoughts on how they can help and get involved?
Yeah, as you may know, the ocean faces like many problems, from ocean acidification to captivity, overfishing, pollution, coral bleaching, etc. Like you said, we need more help now than ever to protect our oceans. And some ways that all of you can help is you can first like start by making sustainable seafood choices. You can reduce the use of plastics, especially single-use plastics, and you can also take Aeon for Ocean's Common Sense Plastic Pledge, which you can find on our website.
Say that again, Aeon for Plastics Pledge?
Aeon for Ocean Common Sense Plastic Pledge.
Common Sense Plastic Pledge. I like that, yes.
And then another thing we always say is that you should always learn about oceans and marine life and then share that knowledge and with others, friends, family, teachers, anyone, to create awareness about oceans and marine life so that more people can start caring about the oceans and every small action makes a difference.
Every small action does make difference, and that ocean is so vast, sometimes people don't think about what lies beneath, and yet how important and critical that is to our own livelihood of being able to remain on this planet. What lies beneath is critical to that survival. And you've got another thing called Krill to Whale. What is that about?
A few years ago, we wanted to create more opportunities for younger people to share that knowledge and awareness about oceans and marine life within their communities. So we started the Krill to Whale Ambassador Program, which basically where we take Krill to Whale ambassadors and they go and present to their schools and etc. But along this path, we realized that there are some issues that pop up, like liability and such. So we are now switching from the Krill to Whale program to something called the Teacher Ambassador Program, which empowers students, where we provide materials to the teachers, and the teachers can empower students within their classrooms and communities to share and learn about the ocean and marine life.
And I didn't even say his title.
Head crew.
He is, what, head or chief krill?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. I love
King
it.
krill.
King krill.
He could be king krill too. He could be it all.
And taking action is so important, and these are just some small ways. And you're just entering ninth grade, and this is something others, young adults, can be doing as well. They can get involved and take action because it is important right now with the critical issues facing our planet. And ambassadorship is so important, raising that awareness. That's one of the biggest things we can do right now around the world. And young as 2 years old, but you have been able to balance both the school system and doing what you can, and then you got an organization around you that helps you implement a lot of these things. Talk about a couple of the people, or Scott, you're the one that were showing me the whole list of PhDs and people who are helping on a variety of different channels. They help with everything from marine education to things like managing the production of things. So why don't you talk to that?
Yeah, I noticed your comic book artists on your website. So I'm glad you brought that up. That looked really interesting. Then when I went through the list, I meant to bring my iPad in here and go through it, but you had so many educators in there. You had one person who was your educator lead, and you had a number of well-educated educators who are
Here, I've got them right here.
this mom.
Executive director.
Yes, Mom.
And pronounce her name for us.
Menaka
Menaka.
And
Beautiful.
last name?
Nagarajan.
And then you've got also a director of HR. You've got a director of educational programs. That's interesting. Can you talk a little bit about first your mother and then about Nicolette?
Yeah, she's really been one of the main driving forces in all of this, like early pushing. Like I mentioned, both of my parents throughout this whole journey.
That's important
Yeah,
to have that
that's really
support. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm really grateful for all of that. And then our director of educational programs, she's really amazing. And a lot of what she does at Aeon Ocean is sort of taking her background in education and sort of applying it to our educational programs. And all of our volunteers joined Aeon Ocean because of their passion for the ocean, because we're 100% volunteer-run nonprofit. A lot of our volunteers take like their experience in the past from educational, like teaching to HR and such,
Ah,
and
that's
apply
important.
it to our educational programs and sharing awareness about the oceans and marine life.
You've got a marine education program lead. You've got an education manager, program manager. The list just continues. Community engagement manager. These are ways that they can focus on specific tasks and be able to approach that in a way that they can use their expertise to accomplish the bigger goals. Because it takes a team, a village, to bring these things all about. You even have a publishing manager, publishing and education lead. It's amazing how big this organization has grown. Tell us a bit about that kind of part of it, being from your perspective and watching it grow. What has been that journey?
I feel like this journey has been really amazing, especially for me, from starting it way back in, I think, 2017, with just me and a few experts that we've met along the way, now growing to an organization with over 30 volunteers. And I feel like that journey has been really awesome, and I'm really grateful to all of these volunteers who all share this passion for the ocean. I'm really grateful to all of them and all of the experts that have helped me and the organization along the way. Yeah, it's just been really amazing.
And 7 years ago for him is 7 years old.
Yeah, it is. It's really impressive. Like when you look at the people who have joined you in this effort, and it has to.
Yeah.
I really do think, because I know you did it for me. You are an inspiring individual, and it was contagious when you spoke to us at that ACS conference 7 years ago. All these adults in the room, we were just mesmerized and so taken with. You were so sincere about your interest and your love of the ocean, and we do realize then that Scott is absolutely correct when he said the theme each year the ACS has a theme, and that one was the next generation.
And there you have the
That's
voice
right.
of the next
Yeah,
generation.
exactly.
A young, he was probably 7 or 9, somewhere in there, but you hear that voice and you hear that he is articulate and knowledgeable, and that really gets people's attention.
Yeah, yeah. It was amazing, but to grow your organization this way, you want to know how special you are, because you do not see this in many organizations. They kind of struggle to get
Yeah.
people on board, and people so dedicated like you have. So that speaks so highly of, what you and your mom and dad
Yes.
have accomplished. It really has.
Kudos to you all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have
Thank you.
plans to attend any future conferences? There's always conferences popping up. Did you ever go to the marine mammal,
Oh, the biennial.
the biennials? They're in all around the world. It's a marine mammal.
The next one's in Australia.
Australia. There you go. There's a trip for you.
That'll be this summer.
I believe we did do like an online version of the marine mammal
Oh,
one
right.
a couple of years back, and then we did like the World Whale Conference, and we met some really amazing experts there, Dr. Wally Franklin and all of his people, and it's just been really amazing. We have a bunch of conferences, and we have a few lined up this year, and we're hoping to get more for next year.
Good.
Can you list some of those conferences?
One that's coming up really soon is the Oceans 2024 conference. We're looking forward to that, and that's October or November, I believe.
Excellent.
So,
Ian, have you connected with the group in Colorado?
not yet.
They're in Boulder.
It's called Inland Ocean Alliance, I
Yeah,
think.
thank you. I couldn't remember.
Oh,
Inland
good.
Ocean Alliance.
Well, he's inland.
Right. You could look into that in
Boulder.
Yeah, right. And it's called the Inland Ocean Alliance or Coalition, I believe.
coalition.
Coalition. Yeah,
All
they
right,
do.
I'll be sure to check them out.
Yeah.
That sounds really cool.
Yeah, yeah, you would like that.
Yeah, they're
for
great
sure.
people. You'd be a help to each other.
Yeah, you could have a lot to share.
Yeah, that's the thing about networking.
Mm.
Networking with others who have similar interests like that.
Mm-hmm.
And we have probably about maybe 10 minutes here left on this show. And this is Resilient Earth Radio, one of our newest shows and podcasts. And this is KGUA in Walla, 88.3 FM. I'm Leanne Lindsay, along with my co-producers and co-host Scott and Tree Mercer of the Mendocino Whale and Seal Study, which stands for Mendocino and Sonoma counties. And they're from originally back east. And whale watching was a big part of Scott's life for a long, long time, teaching as well. Teresa teaching as well in biology and sciences. And then you collaborated with Scott on many whale activities and companies. You've done several of them.
Where we actually met on the Captain Red, which was a whale, Scott's boat out of Newburyport, Massachusetts. I had taken my 2 young nephews because I wanted them to see whales. And we went out that day, and we saw over 40 humpback whales in that. And I was so excited to see the whales, but my young nephews, their eyes got as big as
Big as flounders.
yeah. And I didn't know if I should watch them or watch the ocean and watch the whales. It was a really wonderful experience.
And seeing
being
a
on that.
whale is what got young Ian off onto this whole path.
Sure.
Right?
What was the first
Yeah.
whale you saw,
Yeah.
Ian? Was it a humpback?
I believe it was a humpback. Yeah.
A humpback.
Humpbacks
yeah.
are just amazing. Yeah.
They are. They are indeed.
So, in these last few minutes, why don't you cover again the website, the organization, how people can get involved, and some of the different aspects which now you have going in this organization?
All right. Yeah. So, again, Aeon for Ocean is a way to share awareness and create awareness about oceans and marine life, especially to the inland community, because for someone to really care about the ocean and marine life, they need to know what it is and be able to have that sort of connection with it. And some of our initiatives that we're doing right at the moment are an online Canvas curriculum for middle school, high school, and lower school, where we basically have a bunch of materials and hands-on activities. And we are also doing comics, which are sort of a fun way for kids to learn about issues affecting the ocean and how we can help. And then we have the Teacher Ambassador Program, which is a way for teachers to empower students within their classrooms and communities to learn and create awareness about the ocean and marine life. Right now, we're also partnering with Guided Opportunities, which is a nonprofit in Honduras that specializes in after-school programs for underprivileged communities there, and we're providing our educational materials and content translated into Spanish for them to use, and we're hoping to use that Spanish version to reach a much larger community. And then right now, at the moment, we're hoping to get back to more in-person activities, beach cleanups, in-person presentations, and then our virtual reality programs, as I mentioned. And we are also partnering with Hydrus again recently to receive ocean education kits, which have hands-on projects. And a new update with the kits is that they now are giving a cardboard viewer where you can just put your phone in and it becomes sort of a virtual reality experience. And again, with those hands-on projects that we can use in the classrooms. And then before I go into some ways you can help, I just want to quickly thank all the volunteers that have helped us along the journey and the experts that have helped us. I want to thank you, Tree and Scott Mercer, for inviting me to be on this podcast, and Leanne for hosting it. And then just some ways you can help make sustainable seafood choices. You can reduce the use of plastics, especially single-use plastics, by taking the Aeon for Ocean Common Sense Plastic Pledge, which you can find on our website. You can also, one thing we always say is always learn more about oceans and then share that knowledge with others, friends, family, teachers, to create more awareness about the oceans and marine life. And just thank you, everyone.
And I really like that you have the curriculum that you can share, that you're helping teachers with their programs too. You've covered this whole Latino Spanish program now, which in our community, we have a lot of Latinos, and you're doing so much along those lines, as well as using VR technology, virtual reality technology, to comics, to presenting in classrooms, to hands-on being out picking up trash in the ocean activities. You're covering a really wide range, right?
Definitely. And Ian, you also produce a monthly newsletter, which I find extremely interesting, informative, well-written articles. That's a newsletter I never miss. Yeah, I get a lot of them. I really do enjoy your monthly newsletters. Excellent job.
Thank you. And that's a lot of credit to our publishing team who work on the newsletters and sort of come up with these really fascinating topics and articles to publish in the newsletter. And we'll also be putting our comics in the newsletters coming up.
Wonderful.
So we're also looking forward to that.
Great. And you, again, are going to be traveling. I guess the next time you'll be traveling is in October, or is it going to be via online that you're doing that work?
I will be traveling to Canada for
nice.
that conference.
Oh,
So
good.
looking forward to that.
Where in Canada is it?
It's actually in Nova Scotia, so really close to Laurie Marino's. It's in Halifax.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Will that be at Dalhousie University?
I think it's at the convention center. If I remember.
Oh, yeah. I was wondering if Dalhousie ran that. He's running the conference.
He's not sure, I don't think.
so.
Yeah, I was just curious when I heard that. One of the biennials was run by Dalhousie, and a couple of students there, and was held at that convention center, as I remember.
We've been speaking with young Aeon Bashir, and I should say young adult because he's now 14. He's entering into 9th grade. We have with me my co-producers and co-hosts, Scott and Tree Mercer of Mindanao Whale and Seal Study, who met this young man at a conference years ago, so many years ago, and now have brought him here to our show. And I just want to thank you again for joining us from Minnesota. And just a little bit about what it's like there in Minnesota. You've got a few seconds here.
yeah, it's really amazing here. And I feel like it gives a lot of opportunities to promote this awareness because not a lot of people know about the ocean and things like that here. So it's just really awesome here. And before we close out, I just want to say thank you to, again, all the volunteers and
Yes.
experts in Aeon for Ocean. And then thank you to Tree and Scott Mercer for inviting me to be on this radio and podcast. And thank you to Leanne for hosting it. And I'm really grateful. Thank you.
It's been an honor to have you here, Ian. I mean that. Just wonderful. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yes, absolutely. And we'll be reminding you about our symposium in October.
Yes,
If you're interested in being on that, you can do that again from Minnesota.
Yeah, I'll
absolutely.
be sure to, yeah.
And tell your parents thank you very much,
Yes.
too.
Yes. Our
Yeah,
best to your
thank you.
parents and your whole team.
Your whole team, all the volunteers, everyone working for Aeon for Ocean, thank you for listening today. This is Resilient Earth Radio. I'm Leanne Lindsay.
Bye, Ian.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good to see you. Thanks for listening to Resilient Earth Radio, where we talk about critical issues facing our planet and the positive actions people are taking. I'm Leanne Lindsay, producer and host, along with my co-producers and co-hosts, Scott and Tree Mercer of the Mendonoma Whale and Seal Study, produced in association with Planet-Centric Media, Sea Storm Studios, and KGUA 88.3 FM, a public radio station on the Northern California coast. You can find us on Facebook and Instagram and wherever you get your podcasts. The music for the show is Castle by the Sea from international composer Eric Alleman of the Sea Ranch in Sonoma County, California.